In this Writer's Toolbox video, I'll be talking about clear paragraph conclusions. So, you've done some writing, you've written your paragraph, but it just doesn't feel complete. You double check, you've got a strong claim explaining the what and the how or the why. You've got evidence that's been carefully selected, embedded, and it's cited. You've analysed your evidence using the 3-level system, writing why it's important. But it just doesn't feel complete. So what's the best way to finish a paragraph? Relate. Make or show a connection. Find links. Bring everything back to its central idea. Now, if you're writing just one paragraph, your last sentence might want to just relate everything back to the claim, the first sentence. However, if you're writing an essay, you might wish to relate everything back to your thesis statement, your central claim. You might also want to relate to the question or the prompt. So how can you do that? Well, you need to repeat ideas, emphasize the main points that you've made about the topic in your thesis statement or the claim in your paragraph. Repeat language. Use some of the same words as the question or the thesis statement or the central claim in your paragraph. And use synonyms. Change particular words so it doesn't feel too repetitive. Let's look at an example. Romeo and Juliet. We need some context first, of course. So it's a play written by William Shakespeare, probably the most famous playwright ever. And he lived during the Elizabethan era in England. The play is written poetically, and it's a story about two star-crossed lovers, Romeo Montague and Juliet Capulet. Now they're two teenagers from rival families who hate each other. The play's set in Verona, Italy in the 1300s, and the story's about this couple that meet at a party, fall in love, and eventually marry in secret. They have to marry in secret because their families hate each other. However, Romeo unfortunately kills Juliet's cousin in a fight, and he must flee the city, never to return. Juliet's family then try to make her marry another man, but she refuses, so she plans to fake her own death with the help of some friends. Yet, Romeo hears that she's died, and he kills himself. Juliet eventually wakes up, sees that Romeo is dead, and then she kills herself. Very morbid and depressing. Anyway, I've got a paragraph here. This is actually written by a student. It says, Shakespeare expresses that Romeo and Juliet's love is real, pure and true through religious imagery and the use of sonnet structure. When Romeo and Juliet first meet, Romeo begins a sonnet wherein he refers to Juliet's hands as a holy shrine, which he does not want to profane with his unworthy hand. He also mentioned that his lips are blushing pilgrims. There's my evidence. Let's analyse it. Romeo views Juliet's hand as something sacred, and by touching it, he is metaphorically defiling a religious site. Shakespeare uses religious imagery in order to indicate the purity of his love for her. Simply by associating his love with religion, it's characterised as divine. Elizabethan England was a strictly Protestant place, and thus the audience would understand the weight of the religious imagery, allowing them to understand the authenticity of Romeo's love for Juliet. Furthermore, their first conversation is carried out in a sonnet structure, where they both have their own quatrain. In the sonnet, Romeo speaks the first quatrain individually, whilst Juliet recites the second. For the third, they both complete each other's. Finally, at the end of the sonnet, the first line of the Volta is spoken by Juliet, who states that the statues of saints only move to grant for prayer's sake. Romeo completes this Volta by asking Juliet not to move as he kisses her, so he can receive his prayer and the effect it takes. In this sonnet, Juliet is referred to as a saint who metaphorically grants Romeo's prayers by allowing him to kiss her. Upon their first interaction, they had already managed to complete a sonnet together harmoniously. This indicates the authenticity of their love, which extends much further than mere lust. Shakespeare generally uses sonnet structure in iambic pentameter for emotional matters of the heart, and the sonnet itself is usually a love poem. There's a claim that explains the what and the how. There's evidence which has been really carefully selected, embedded and cited. And there's the 3-level analysis. There's more evidence to support the claim. And again, more analysis. But what's missing? That last sentence. As a result of using religious imagery and sonnet structure, Shakespeare is able to characterise Romeo's love as genuine. All I've done here is I've taken the claim, the first sentence, and I've reworded it, I've restated it. If, for instance, I were to write in an essay, and my essay question was, how does Shakespeare depict love and lust in the play? And the thesis statement was, Shakespeare uses literary devices and varying structures to depict and contrast love and lust in his play Romeo and Juliet. I might also use some of the same language. So, love, lust, literary devices, structure, contrast, love and lust. And I've written, as a result, Shakespeare is able to differentiate between the lust Romeo felt for Rosaline and the purer love he now feels for Juliet through religious imagery and the use of a traditional type of love poem, the sonnet. Again, I'm using the same language that's in the essay question and the thesis statement to support what I've said. This proves what I've said, and it relates everything back to my central claim. I have reworded my paragraph claim, and I've linked it back to the thesis statement and the question. That's perfect. I can use introductory phrases such as a result, in sum, therefore, thus, in conclusion. So remember, relate, make or show a connection, find links, relate everything back to the thesis statement, the paragraph claim, or the question or prompt. Repeat ideas, repeat language, use synonyms.